Hello everyone, welcome to my video. I am Tristan Journey, and here is another speed art. Today I am going to be drawing a couple of my characters. This is Tyler and Cory. You may have seen something or earlier versions of them in older videos. Usually they were Minecraft characters, but it sort of evolved from that. So I just thought it would be really cute to draw a couple of my characters in like some sci-fi sort of dojo thing, because they're both fighters. He's an archer and she is a warrior who uses swords. And it's all set like way off in the future. What I ultimately want to do is some sort of graphic novel, but I mean, I'm still, working towards that. So I started off with the line art because the sketching phase was just so long. I did record a few times where I used Blender to sort of set up the background here. Like I tried to sort of sketch out the background based off a photo I found, but I couldn't get the perspective right because the photo wasn't in the same perspective. So I just sort of recreated the few major, columns and like a window there in Blender so I could get the perspective correct. So here I am doing all that. I added in a couple of the lights, and then I also started doing lighting in here because I needed a reference for that. It is surprisingly hard to get this kind of lighting off the internet. So I played with the placement there a few times. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I settled on this perspective where it's like, I don't know, in sort of like this sort of hallway thing right next to the main dojo area. And it's got a big old window with a bunch of sort of modern, sort of sci-fi shapes in it. I haven't drawn backgrounds though. That is something I so need to work on. Yeah. So I'm fixing up the line art here. I added some little symbols or shapes or whatever on the lanterns. So I thought it would be cool. There were lanterns in the original photo that I found, and I thought it would be cool since it's in, the future, sci-fi on another planet. Maybe I could make them floating or something, like hovering in the air. I thought that was cool. Of course, I mean, I had a hard time with the symbols because, you can never tell whether it's like a gang symbol or something. But here I am, I'm saying here I am changing up the color scheme, trying to figure out the colors for their costumes because part of their costumes I sort of ad-libbed because I'm still designing their costumes, and that's probably going to change the more I change the story. I had so much trouble with Cory's costume and the colors in there. I could not decide what I wanted to do because I wanted to bring the eye focus up towards her face and not do too much contrast in the pants and that sort of thing, but I also didn't want it to look all the same color. So right here, I'm trying to figure out the kind of lighting that I want. So I had in my head that this window behind them, it's going to be like cool daylight or something. And then the lanterns or the interior light is going to be, warmer, like, usual lanterns are. So I I decided to paint it. I don't know why I decided to do this. I just guess I'm experimenting today with backgrounds and painting and this new line art brush that I'm using. I use it for sketching and line art. I think it's kind of cool. It's basically an airbrush with a harder edge. So I set up the basic shading on a shade layer, and then I sort of build off that. So I didn't use much actual like internet reference because it was really hard to find. I basically just went off whatever lighting I did in Blender. Let's see here. Yeah, so I made her boots a little shiny, and I have these little arm wraps on both of them I think his, because he's that's left-handed, and I don't know, he like draws his bow back with that hand or something, and she punches things, so I decided to put that on both hands. I tried to add fingernails, but that didn't really work. I am so little experienced in like painting, so this was definitely something new for me. Most of it was definitely new. I went and watched a bunch of videos on how to paint skin and that sort of thing, which I sort of applied, I guess. I mean, it's just sort of strange, I suppose. The line art's so thick and really simplistic, but then I went and painted everything. So, yeah, her hair, I've always been a little weird about painting white hair, because it's like, I'm used to doing the highlights, and it's like, how do you highlight it? Do you even highlight it at all? I don't know. But his was hard too, because again, his, both their character designs are relatively new, so I hadn't drawn them very much. So I didn't quite know where to place, you know, like the shading and locks of hair in his hair, so it sort of looks a little flat. I do think it turned out not bad. Let's see, wait, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, so I went back and got another reference for the lighting, trying to put that backlight, the daylight in there, and with their eyes. I usually do eyes like pretty relatively complicated, but I decided to simplify things. The only thing I simplified. I think they look cool though. I like the eyes. And right here I'm coloring the line art because I thought it sort of looked a little like strange contrast, because it was all just stark black and I had all this, you know, blocked in color and everything, so I just colored that in. And here I'm starting to work on the background. That was so hard. I was trying to choose colors for the background. I didn't know if I wanted the main wall white or dark, or the columns, you know, light or dark. I was still trying to sort of work the the values into the composition, because I didn't know quite how it was gonna work out, like drawing the eye along. I think I settled with these colors. Yeah, and I sort of improvised a background, which I worked on later, like as far as the window goes. And here I am in Photoshop, liquefying a bunch of things, sort of fixing everything up, and still trying to work out the lighting. So I tried to make most everything pretty cool colored, you know, with the daylight, but then I also was confused, like, how am I gonna work in the warm light in here? I colored in those little circles, so it sort of looked like they were like hovering sort of things. Oops. Just knocked the mic. Durr. Okay. And then, yeah, I went back in Photoshop and I fixed up the lighting, and here I am. I found a photo off of Google, which I am mostly sure was free to use. Hopefully. And then I added a little building in there. I sort of wanted it in a sort of town-ish setting, but, you know, obviously I couldn't find any sci-fi looking buildings, so I just sort of changed the colors. Speaking of colors, I am adding a bunch of color and light using I think I used an overlay and a color dodge layer for this, to sort of make everything pop. And then I fixed up the values and colors with levels in the background. I think it's nearly done. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So, her skin tone. Oh yeah, that was something I struggled with a bit. Oh my. So, it was looking a little more yellow than it needed to be. I don't know. Just confusing, I suppose, but yeah. I think even though it was really experimental, I do like how it turned out. It's very colorful, very fun. thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day.